just waiting for 7 o'clock at 6:59.
Such a roll call.
Diana, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. All right, Dave. Good evening. I would like to call the Hebron Board of Education regular meeting of Thursday, March 10th, 2022 to order. If we could do a roll call.
Alex Crawford, board member.
Joe Margaitis, board member.
Amanda Veneziano, vice chair.
Heather Pettit, chair.
Tom Barrett, superintendent.
Allie Schmeisel, secretary.
Don Briere, Director of Educational Services.
Caitlin O'Leary, business manager.
Diana Morales, board member.
Thank you. Thank you. We have our Director of Technology, Dave McKenna, and Tricia also. So if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you very much. You can see it. All right, next on the agenda is the Student Liaison Report and District Advancement Update Student Council. Dr. Baird?
I'm going to kick it over to our school deans and Miss G. Come on up. And our second grade students.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for having us. We are very excited to share with you some of the wonderful activities that we have already celebrated as Student Council in second grade. We have some fantastic role models that we'd like to introduce you to and give you a little bit of information of what's to come within this year. This is Mrs. Much. She is our Dean of Students at Hebron Elementary School, and my name is Sarah Haynes. I am the Dean of Students here at Gilead Hill.
Thank you. All right, do we have a click? So, the Hebron Public Schools Student Council 2021-22 year has been a very exciting year for us. I know it's not done yet. This was the year we got super ambitious. Definitely at Hebron L, this is the first year we have all 4 grade levels participating at our school, and we have, as you can see, we have our second graders here from Gilead Hill, who I haven't seen since they were kindergartners. I'm just so happy to see how much they've grown. I'm so proud of you and seeing you here at the Student Council. So on the next slide, we will click over. The guy clicking is also clicking picture. Oh, it's here? Oh, thank you. How does this work?
Thank you.
We're going to be introducing our student councils now, starting with grade 2.
So here you have a wonderful picture, but in front of your face, live and in person, we have Lyra Guidicelli, Lainey Mullen. Maybe you can give a little wave, okay, friends, if I say your name. Lainey Mullen, Leah Valaro, Elliot Natali, William Sybeck, Lyra Guidicelli, I already said Lyra, didn't I? Lyra Guidicelli, Lucas Merkin, Amelia, help me. I always do that, Amelia. Cherokee, thank you. And Luciana Cardelletta, Lillian Parento, and Eleanor Maxwell. All right, so we are going to show you a couple of different slides with the activities that we have so far done this year. Next slide. Ready? You want to stand up?
The Gilead Hill Student Council are second grade role models for Student Council in our school. Our school rules are be safe, be kind, and be ready to learn.
Great job, Lucas.
This year we celebrated Random Acts of Kindness Week to kick off the week. The whole school dressed in red and pink colors.
Nice job. I should have planned this a little bit better. Luciana.
The Student Council made a bookmark for every student in the school.
There you can see a picture of one of the bookmarks that we made. Every student got one.
Then we made hearts for every student. Each student wrote or drew something kind on the heart, and we placed them all over the school.
If you get a chance to walk through the halls, you'll see them throughout the school. They all say something kind, or there is a picture of some random act of kindness that some student or teacher did in the school. Amelia, there you are.
On donation day, we collected over 500 pounds of food and donated it to the Hebron Interfaith Food Pantry. We filled Mrs. Mealy and Mrs. Haynes' truck to the top.
It's true. Two trucks to the top. Fabulous. Next slide. Okay, Mrs. Lynch. And Elliot.
We finished the week with a school spirit day. We all wore our school colors, orange and black. We were really proud of our school.
Great job. And also on the pictures on this slide, you can see some spirit sticks that we celebrated by handing one of each of those out to every student, so they got to put them on their backpack to celebrate Kindness Week.
All right, next slide. At this point, I'm going to call Miss G to come up. The reason why she's here is because the way we run things at Hebron Elementary School is that we've always had one student council advisor, and we've only really had 1 or 2 grades in the past participate. Miss G was their advisor. So when we went big this year, we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to need advisors at each grade level. And Miss G is like, I guess you'd be like the super advisor. She advises us all. So you're going to notice grade 3, you could see some familiar faces here. I'm the advisor for 3rd grade. I'm having a blast with this group, as Mr. Larkin will attest. We have Wyatt Roser, Hunter Rondini, Cameron Bell, and Isabella Foster, who says she knows Mr. Margitis and to say hi to him. So here they are posed, and every week, we meet weekly, every Monday for 30 minutes, and we solve the world's problems. Right now, the problems that we're solving is we're getting ready to bring all of the students back into the cafeteria eventually. So they're making big posters about kindly asks, just expectations that we might have forgotten in the past when we were all together, so we're bringing them back in. But this is the thing they wanted me to share. I asked them, do you want me to share any product? And it was this. This is their Friday night. This is a joke box that sits by the main office that took about 4 weeks to make and about 500 miles of tape. And the idea is that anybody walking by can put a joke in there, and then Miss G will read it off on Friday for our Friday Funny. So it's kind of fun to hear your joke being said over the announcements every Friday morning. So that's like, they think that's their claim to fame. There it is, the robot. The next council we have is our grade 4 student council, and the advisor is Gabby Anderson. She's a 4th grade teacher. And there they are. You could see they have personality. In this student council, we have Victoria Daly, Amelia Dunnels, Sophia Rodriguez, Annalise Ciola, and Livia Eng. And they get together each week, as we do in the 3rd grade. The 4th grade will get together for about, I think they meet for like an hour a week, solving the world's problems. And one of the things that Miss Anderson wanted me to share, I know you can't see this, but this came from an experience that I actually have on a further slide. Our student councils, grades 4, 5, and 6, were given the opportunity to participate in the Connecticut Association of Student Councils, I think that's what it's called, and it's a leadership conference offered to student councils. So the 3rd grade was looking forward to it. They were feeling a little left out, but they're excited to have that opportunity next year. And it was it was like 4 hours, right? About 4 hours. They were on a Zoom, and traditionally it was gathered in person, and they would have all these different events, but the last few years, for obvious reasons, it was on Zoom. And what they did, what each of the girls did, is they put together a slide of the thing that meant the most to them, what they learned that meant the most, and they went around to each 4th grade classroom and presented and shared their learning. Which was very powerful and impactful for them. So they wanted to show, this is something that represents me. This is what made a big impact on me. And it was really hard to go around and present this to their 4th grade classes, so it was something they're very proud of. So next we have fifth grade Student Council. And with them, we have Jacqueline Coffey, Audrey Wright, Allie Lavenberg, and Maisie LeMay. They get together weekly with their advisor, Carrie Miranda, and they're not going to show what they're not going to showcase anything because they know that they're going to be up in the next, I think next month, their work is going to be showcased here at the Board of Ed meeting. So they said, nope, we're not going to show you. They have to tune in next month to find out what we're up to. And then we have sixth grade, who you've seen their products. This grade has two advisors, Kathleen Sudol and Shelley Yerke. Brady Ciatola, Avery Fitzgerald, Jack Tartaglione, Evie Rainville, and Caitlin Lozelle. And they meet every Friday at lunch and recess. They give up lunch and recess every day, every Friday. They meet with their advisors, usually out in the hallway. And they've put a lot of effort into what they showcase to the Board of Ed, but they're working on a project that some type of legacy project where the outgoing sixth graders would leave some type of mark on the school, some type of legacy, that they want to start a tradition for sixth graders so that they'll leave a mark. And we're thinking handprints, something. They're going to unveil it in future months, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting because they wanted to make sure we always remember them. So, and the way the student councils make their decisions at Hebron Elementary School is that they always put it out to their classes, and it's a collective decision made by the sixth grade class or the fifth grade class. It's not just the student council is just their voice in their vehicle, and that's how we've run it this whole past year, and it's been pretty successful. So some of the activities that Mrs. Haynes and I decided we wanted to share, they're not all of our activities, but they're what could fit on the slide. So she's going to take the first few.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to pass it on to my second grade friends. Lingney, could you talk about our town meeting?
The Student Council helps present town meetings each month. We lead the school in Pledge of Allegiance. Then we talk about school rules. Each month we talk about ways we can improve our school. Last month we reminded students how to safely play in the snow.
Nice job, Lainey. Ella's going to talk about one of our Choose Love activities.
We also spread the message of Choose Love. We made Choose Love ducks to hand out to everyone. Each student wrote or drew a picture of something they were grateful for.
Nice job, Ella. And Mrs. Much?
Oh. I don't have a script. This one's coming right off of my head. So we do celebrate monthly themes. Mrs. Haynes and I, we connect quite a bit on what the work of our student councils so that we can have coherence through the district so that all of our children are having similar experiences. And I remember we were talking about the February, like what we were doing for February, and kind of came up with some ideas. And one of them, third grade led February Kindness Challenge. So they had a challenge each day that Ms. G read on the morning announcement. It could be like smile at like 25 people. I mean, some of these were so funny. They were so cute. And it's when they were wearing masks. So they said, well, how will we know we're 25 people? And I'm like, don't worry, you could see it in their eyes. So they came up with a challenge for every day in February that would spread kindness. And one we're currently experiencing right now, and I know that Gilead Hill did for Read Across America, the Walk a Mile Diversity Project. And it's just starting this week. I involved many of us staff members reading aloud from a book, recording ourselves, and the children are listening to the book, and they are experiencing life as that particular character in the book, and they're walking a mile, literally, in the shoes of that character. Another thing I've mentioned earlier was the leadership conference that grades 4, 5, and 6 are invited to. It's something that over the last 2 years that we've done it, it's something they've looked forward to and gotten a lot out of, and that was back in January. And we have Spirit Weeks, really, really fun. Third grade loves to plan Spirit Weeks and send it out to the class. So what they do is they come up with ideas and they let the class come up, they go and they get brainstorming ideas through their classmates, and then they all vote on it. So it's really not the third grade saying, this is our Spirit Week. It's a decision that was made by the whole class. We had a back to school, we have a holiday, and we just had Read Across America Spirit Week. We just celebrated, I think, in both schools. Yeah. And then we thought we'd end with our hopes and dreams as we look forward to the future of the student councils. So, all right.
So we have quite a few ideas to finish up this great year. And I also want to just say, like, how amazing are these second graders sitting here so responsibly and so respectfully this entire time. So great job, you guys. I'm so proud of you. We all are. Great job. Okay, Lillian is going to tell us about our next School Spirit Day in March.
Also, we have some great ideas for the rest of the school year. In March, we will have a School Spirit Day called Dress Up Like Your Future Self. We will dress up like who we want to be when we grow up.
Now Leah's going to tell us about a compassion project we'd like to do.
We would also show compassion for others by making cards for children at the local children's hospital.
Nice job, Leah. And Ella and Lucas?
Thank you for inviting us to tell about our student council.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. I wish you were all here every single board meeting, but your parents probably don't, but I do. You guys were wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with the board and with all of us. We really appreciate it. It's fun to see your smiling faces and see what you're doing, and good job in making our schools a better place, right?
Thank you so much. We're just going to step out
Yes,
for a picture.
so as much as I love having you here, parents, we don't expect you to stay for the whole board meeting, so we understand it's a late night, so if you want to leave, feel free, and we can wait a minute. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
They did a good job. They really did. They did a really good job.
It was the best Pledge of Allegiance we've had here in a long time.
That's what I was thinking. They should lead the Pledge of Allegiance every time.
That was great.
Like, could we
Right?
record them?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think we should have them here every meeting. I'm not lying. Is that possible?
And then there was 4.
Our favorite 4. Some of our favorite 4. And ironically, 4 on our agenda, Recognition Board of Ed Appreciation.
So, yes, this is Board of Education Appreciation Month, I think a favorite of our board members, and so for new board members, soon to be a favorite meeting for you, I hope. So as a token of our appreciation, we have a little something for you. So now you can unwrap your gifts, yeah.
Yeah, the reveal.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Morales, you'll have to come pick it up at our central office, or we can get it home to you.
I'm stuck to this.
I don't know. Oh, it's a puzzle.
That's awesome.
So we had a new challenge this year
I
with our
love it.
gift because Ms. Feliciano, Sam has moved on.
He's
so
moved
we had to
on.
get a little creative.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
great.
And I feel like we wanted to do something a little bit different, but on the same kind of theme. So your child's artwork on a little memento as a token of our appreciation. For all board members give up a lot of their time. You're volunteers. This is not a paid position, so we appreciate all the hours that you put into your governance.
Thank you so much. These are amazing. Can everyone hold theirs up? Because I really want to see everyone's. Oh, nice. Oh, so you have both boys on it. You have 3? Oh, no, 2 so far.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe next year, right?
We'll have 3 next
Let me
week.
see your dice.
Actually, no, 2
Love
again.
that.
So Diana, I know you can't see it, but you'll love yours, but it's,
Don't tell her, don't tell
oh,
her.
Pieces.
It's not, it's still wrapped.
oh, I can't tell you, sorry, Diana.
250.
She has to wait. They're gonna flip out.
I'll text you later.
That's great, we do puzzles together.
That's awesome.
Thank
We
you
thought it
very
was something
much.
you could also do with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's
That's
awesome,
wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Next on our agenda is public comments. So the Hebron Board of Education values the public comment period as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. Procedurally, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person, and citizens will be asked to identify themselves. All comments must be directed to the board and not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. The board and the administration will not respond to questions or engage in dialogue during the public comment period. The board and the administration will determine when and how to address questions that arise during the public comment period. With that, are there any public comments by anyone in the audience? All right. So we'll move on to approval of minutes. The regular meeting minutes of February 10th, 2022, I'm actually going to table until next meeting because there's a couple edits that we're going to just make to those minutes. The communication committee meeting minutes of 2/10/22, we didn't have a quorum, so I'd ask the chair of that committee, Amanda Louisiana, if you
Those are good.
accept those, all right. So I would then ask for a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Amanda Veneziano and Alice Schmeisel seconds. Is there any discussion? All right, so the roll call, Alex Crawford,
Aye.
Joe Margaitis,
Aye.
Amanda Veneziano,
Aye.
Heather Pettit, aye. Diana Morales,
Aye.
Alex Schmeisel.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously, thank you. All right, and Dr. Baird, the superintendent's report.
Great. I'll just mention too about the minutes. Our fabulous assistant, Rachel Clavette, noticed that we had neglected to put on the agenda the Resource Management Committee meeting from January, so we will pull that forward next month. All right, so I'm going to start off my report kind of going in order. So the first item I wanted to highlight is the last item under the District Advancement Plan update, and that centers, well, actually, before I begin that, while not specifically noted, one of our goals and one of our visions for our graduates is leadership, and I think that was a beautiful presentation by our Student Council, and just, one of two really in-person events this week that really, there's a different feeling this week specifically, but really exciting to see. But that's also related to our district advancement plan, the work of the Student Council. But the school resource officer MOA update is certainly underway. We got back a draft from our attorney. There were some new legal requirements that needed to be included. We presented that to the town. There were some minor edits, and it's now sitting with the Board of Selectmen. So I believe the town manager is planning to bring that to their next meeting for their approval. You might remember you voted on it in October, I believe. So just some procedures that still need to be followed through to finalize that. We are certainly well ahead of schedule because our current agreement is through June. In terms of COVID operations, I mentioned the Student Council presentation tonight, but we had our Invention Convention event on Tuesday evening. And I know many of you were there in attendance and had children that participated. It's a wonderful event that we're glad to have back in person. There was a great energy in the room, and it was certainly thrilling for me personally. It's an event that this is my 10th year participating in Invention Convention. Hebron does a phenomenal job in terms of Invention Convention, but it was just really nice to have it in person. And I remember when Mr. Parks, Dr. Briere and I were discussing it probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. The question was do we prepare for a virtual judging or in-person judging? The cases were quite high at that time. And Dr. Briere, as our COVID safety liaison, and we really felt like we have to be optimistic here. We really want this back in person. So we planned for in person from the get-go and said we can pivot if we need to. But I'm really glad that things worked out so well. There's a lot of updates under the COVID operations, but we really exhausted that at our special meeting on the 23rd. So I just want to mention 2 other items. One, if people are monitoring the dashboard, you will notice that we implemented a change in terms of how we're going about that. We went to a weekly update of the dashboard from pretty much like a daily or sometimes more than once a day update, really to reflect the slowdown of cases, but also it just has become more regional practice to do updates to dashboards about once a week. It shows more of an apples to apples because you can have some, if you're not feeling better at day 6, you might still be out. So this gives you a more true, like this is how many cases happened during a particular period of time. The Department of Public Health also began to allow for weekly submissions of cases rather than an expectation of a daily submission of cases. So we're just doing all of that work on Wednesday mornings. So the change in the way that we've implemented the dashboard that I want to make sure that I spoke to. If you looked at today or yesterday's update, you'll see our dashboard currently is at all 0. So that's also a huge celebration. I do think that we need to consider when we're going to sunset the use of the dashboard. This has really been an extraordinary display of data that we wouldn't normally put out for the public. Usually when we have data sets that represent less than 20 students, we would not publish that data. So it is something for us to consider when we want to sunset the dashboard. But given that we're continuing to look at case rates as we continue to phase out our mitigation strategies, I think the natural time to do that would be for the last day of school or at the end of the year. So that's just sort of our team's working thinking at this point, but I'll keep you updated on that. Some other items of interest that are noteworthy, there were some admin regulations. I know I spoke to them last meeting because they did go out before the last meeting, but after the packet had gone out. So you just have written notification of some updates to model policies from the attorneys around sexual harassment for personnel and sex discrimination, sexual harassment under the student series. I think there were model admin regulations and notification forms that were updated. The town manager has presented his draft capital improvement projects to the Board of Finance, including the townwide facility study that we've been discussing. Schools have been, we've been told that they will be prioritized, specifically Gilead Hill is the first school, Hebron Elementary School, the first project, first building, I should say, and Hebron Elementary likely the second building. Removal of the portables is part of the capital improvement plan, and the additional playscape for Gilead Hill. So we're beginning to make some preliminary planning around the playscape. This is year end. I'm sure it's going to get a lot of faculty input into that. This is really for our littlest learners, and so we're looking at potential places on the property where we can locate that. That's where we are with that. It is a project that was funded on the town side, so RFPs, et cetera, that would all be done by the town, but I'm sure that they'll be looking for us to give them direction in terms of what we will be constructing. I did want to make a note here too around the personnel report. So we have posted a school psychologist position for a maternity leave that is coming up. We've not been able to secure a school psychologist to fill that position. That is consistent with what I have heard from other surrounding towns, including people who tried to secure year-long absences this year. So Dr. Briere, I'm going to ask him to speak to the plan.
Yeah, I can hop in there. So it was a little creative here to find a fill for Mrs. Silva. So I just looked this afternoon, and there are over 34 school psychologist positions statewide right now actually open. And yeah, Dr. Baird is 100% correct in saying some districts have gone all year without being able to find a fill. So unique times, unprecedented times trying to find fills for some of these positions. So we've had the position posted just to kind of lay the landscape for where we are. We posted it about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and we've had zero candidates. In comparison to a couple of years ago, we had quite a strong candidacy pool. So it really is just a sign of the times. So we had this thought about a month ago to lean on our partners in the community. So reached out to AHM and said to them, perhaps we can move forward and try to find someone through your networks to try to fill at least 90% of what a school psychologist does each day through their IEP and 504 social emotional support. So we did that, and we were fortunate to find a really, really strong school counselor, social worker who will be beginning and overlapping with Mrs. Silva for a full week, which will be a value add. So we were able to move that partnership forward pretty quickly, and then got even more creative for the other hat that Mrs. Silva wears, which is that of evaluations, because a social worker just won't be able to, from a licensure standpoint, conduct those evaluations. So we have two options at this point that we're working with, Plan A and Plan B. We have a retired school psychologist by the name of Linda Jolly, who's going to be filling in for us at a per diem rate to provide evaluations if we need it through the spring months. And Plan B is our current school psychologist who's on a full year maternity leave, Mrs. Doran, who was happy to receive a call, I think, from me to hear about her baby, but also to sign on as a Plan B should additional evaluations pop up. So we feel good. We feel good about filling the void that Mrs. Silva will leave as she departs with her new baby in the last 12 weeks of the school year, and we'll look to higher times next year with the return of both school psychologists in the fall.
Thank you.
Sure.
The last thing I wanted to make note of, underneath my report is the enrollment report. We are going to be engaging with NEASC. We get an updated enrollment projections done in the spring. Ms. Pettit has spoken to that before. We're holding off for a couple weeks to see what homeschooling students might be returning in the next few weeks before we submit our data to get an updated projections. We just think that would be prudent. But I thought you might be interested in our kindergarten numbers, because our original budgeted number of sections for next year was to maintain the current 6 sections, which is one more than the year before, if I'm remembering that correctly. And the original projection for next year was 87 students, which is not enough students to justify 6 sections. It's just shy of that. So to put these numbers in context, so next year we're projected right now at 87. Last year our projection was 100, which is going to be our largest incoming kindergarten class. Well, how many students have registered right now is 72. How does that compare to this time last year? Well, Mrs. Simmons keeps very detailed notes on those kinds of things. So she was able to provide me a number, and that is 75. So we are only 3 short of where we were this time last year. So I think that we are well positioned to hit that 90 students, not 87. And in fact, we probably are going to trend, right now I would guess, that we would trend very closely to what we have right now. We started the year at 104. So 6 sections will comfortably accommodate that. So I think that we have planned well, at least right, that's what the numbers are indicating right now, but we'll keep a watchful eye on that. I did share that with the Board of Finance. We continue to have an additional 2, 3, 4 students in other grades that just have come each month, as you have seen over the course of the year. Our September enrollment report showed 684 students, which was our overall projection for next year. Just happened to be the same number. And our March enrollment report right now indicates that we have 697 students, in-district students I'm referring to. So that's 13 more than we started the school year with. So our enrollment continues to trend up, which is a great thing, but it also comes at a cost. So we just have to be watching. We have to watch that. And that's all I have to report on this month.
Thank you so much. The business manager's report, Ms. O'Leary.
Great. So under technology, I've been talking to you about our progress around the FCC emergency connectivity grant and distribution of devices to families in need. We had anticipated distributing those by the end of February. Unfortunately, the devices didn't come to us in time, so we did not meet that deadline, but have reached out to our vendor for more information on anticipated delivery date. So hopefully I can have better news for you next month when we're reporting on that. The month of February was filled with work around implementing Google Workspace, around efforts to secure our data security and work on securing emails against phishing scams and things of that nature. I had talked to you last month also about installing speakers in the single stall bathroom, so you'll see a budget transfer request this month. We have the quote, so if you should choose to approve that transfer, we'd be ready to move forward with with signing the contract and getting that project started. For facilities, we continue to work with Johnson Controls around some of our fire panel issues we're experiencing at both schools. And again, I told you we would be quoting and requesting a budget transfer this month, so you'll see that too in the packet for that work. And again, we're ready to move forward immediately with that work. In addition, we're working to secure a preventative maintenance contract around our roofs. That's something that we've talked about doing but hadn't actually been in place in the past, so we were more reactive to some of the things that were happening, and we want to get on the front end of some of this. As we're looking at our larger roofing project out several years, and just it's a good place to be in general, just to make sure that that our roofs are in good shape. As far as transportation is concerned, we talked last month about this, but we reduced by a bus. We were seeing that we were never having all of our drivers, so we were combining buses almost every single day in the month of January. So we worked with the bus company to revise that. We're down to 11 buses. We've consistently had 11 buses every day since, because we've had that extra driver now who's been able to, I say every day since, except for one day this week. But besides for that one day,
Knock on wood.
we've been able to have that sub driver available to fill in any absences. And in addition to that, DATCO has been able to work with somebody to move them through the process of becoming trained, and now is seeking licensure to become another driver to get onboarded. So we have more discussions to have around how that person's going to be utilized, but it's good news for us, especially looking forward to next year.
And our clear times are much better.
They sure are. So with student activities account, those reports are enclosed, and my narrative includes an outline of all of the activity in the month there. Similarly, your food services report is enclosed. I have a bullet here that I feel is like maybe a bit deceiving until you read the bullet after. So it says we anticipate needing an additional $55,000 before the end of the year. The bullet right after says, and that is projected to happen. So maybe I should have combined those two together. But food services continues to look good. We're going to be in really good shape to end the year. I did notice one error in this report. I had recorded some state revenue as student and staff revenue. So all of the bottom lines are still accurate. I just made an adjustment after this report was run to move it to the correct revenue line. So you'll see that adjustment in next month's report. The preschool report's still looking good. The tuition is coming in as expected. Expenditures are looking as expected. So we'll just keep an eye on that through the end of the year. We're still waiting on word of a couple of grants for this current fiscal year, and we've just today received word about starting to write grant applications for the upcoming year. So our IDEA grant will be due May 12th. So we'll start working on that, but no updates on any grant awards since last month. And our audit has been we've gotten an extension through the end of March. Our hope is that things are gonna be wrapped up in the next week, but we do have our auditors coming out one more time. So they'll be with us on Monday, taking a look at some of our coronavirus relief funding. So we're gonna look at some payroll pieces and some accounts payable pieces, and hopefully that's the final piece of information that they need before they're wrapping things up. And then my final two reports is the year-to-date expenditure report and the transfer request. So in the year-to-date expenditure report, I always highlight a couple of things in orange that indicate where places where we're projected to go over budget. Can sort of ignore the teacher line because there's a little bit of movement in that line right now. So there's some salaries encumbered that won't be with next payroll. So you'll see a projected overage, but there's no need to move money there. And I won't get into the details of the other like budget transfer items because we discussed it at the Resource Management Committee meeting. So I'll just let Joe speak to that if Mr. Margrethe speak to that if he'd like to share any details around there. But overall, we currently have about $286,000 worth of uncommitted funds and are starting to make some plans to maybe move some of those funds around and purchase some items that have come up as needs for the end of the year. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Amanda and Rosanna.
I know we're only in March, but I was curious if there's been any word on if the student lunches are going to continue the same next year as they have this year.
I haven't heard anything at this point. Everybody's sort of in the CASBO circle is sort of in a sit and wait situation too.
It's been great for students and families.
Yeah, because we talked about a rate increase last year, I think, before we then got word that they were going to continue to be free. And I know that you guys have to, in the spring, vote on those annual food service policies, et cetera.
Yes.
Usually in March or April. So on our radar.
Can I ask a question? There's two sections I could have asked in, so I'm picking this one. And maybe this is more for Dr. Briere or Mrs. Ariana, but pre-K, I know the lottery is coming up. Do we know about how many people or how many children, families, what are we looking like?
We do. I was like looking across the room here. Yeah, we just actually met this week. So lottery is next week on the 16th, 9 a.m. So busy time in preschool land. We just met with 18 families for school readiness, actually. So
for all slots.
yeah. So interestingly, this year, for that grant, we have to fill at least 11 of 18 slots. And we always get like a range of anticipated revenue based on how many eligible families there are. So this year we are at 18, which is a difference from previous years. So that obviously has an impact, both for anticipated revenue and for available seats. So this year we have received 39 applications for the lottery. We have 18 school readiness families, like I mentioned prior. And right now we're looking at, I had it here in my notes, 17 open slots total. This is kind of a moving target, but this is moving into next week. 8 for full day and 9 for half day. So we do anticipate a waiting list this year in the 20s. This is the safest place to land right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Try not to say anything, but
Can I ask a follow-up question?
but preschool expansion is still something maybe we can discuss at a
What
later
is our
date.
normal wait list?
So it varies year to year. So COVID, I'll take those years aside. That's a bit of a different time. We've had in my years, and Ms. Iriana can speak differently, but is ranged in the 20s. It has been the upper teens to low 20s at my years here in Hebron.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Iriana, I'm not sure if that's, yeah.
Another question. So typically when we're at the lottery point, do you typically already have a waiting list at that number, or does that waiting list kind of grow going into the summer?
It often will grow coming into the summer, or we also will have families that will just decide to get childcare elsewhere and
Yeah.
will just pull themselves off of the
Okay.
list. But, it does get tricky because families move into town too. Our lottery has already happened, so at that point, we just need to
You know how I feel.
I'm just going to maybe add that to next month's agenda. When we get to new business.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ms. O'Leary. Diana Morales, I know you're on the phone. Did you have any questions before we move on?
No,
All right,
they were answered all. Thank you.
thank you. So I don't know if Mr. Martinez, you want to speak to the transfer request report before we?
Sure, so we met as a resource management committee, we reviewed all the transfer requests, line item by line item. There's some safety things on here which are very good, the speakers for the bathrooms are on there. The fire panel thing is very important. Everything that's on here, based on our review, is accounted for and worthy, and we are proposing to accept it as proposed.
All right, so with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the line item transfers as presented.
So moved.
Second. All right. Amanda moves, Amanda Louisiana seconds. Any discussion? All right, I'll do a roll call. Alex Crawford?
Aye.
Joe Marquez?
Aye.
Amanda Louisiana?
Aye.
Heather Pettit, aye. Diana Morales?
Aye.
Ally Schweitzel?
Aye.
All right, here's approved. Thank you very much. So next is the chair's report. So a couple of these items Dr. Baird spoke to. The building committee, there's some discussion in regard to, you know, the town manager proposed in his budget that they would do, you know, building,
Yeah, the facility study.
like facility study, and that would include both schools, starting with GHS, but also HES. So depending on what comes out of those studies, you know, some additional work might, you know, be looked to be done. So they still want to do the roofs, but they just put a pause on it until that study is done. And I did speak to, you know, if the study is done or not done, or if it takes a long time, there's some, like, you know, I want to just make sure our roofs are still looked at, whether or not, you know, it might not be voted on by the Board of Selectmen to move forward. So they have committed to continuing the project if that's the case. But it makes sense to wait for that study to be done. In regard to preschool tuition, so sometimes the board will vote on preschool tuition for the upcoming year. So for the 2022-2023 school year, when we put forward the budget, we voted to keep tuition as is, so we have no reason to vote at this time. We will not be increasing tuition for the 2020-2023 school year. So there won't be needing to be a vote on that. We gave a budget presentation, which many of you know, and we're there, on Tuesday, and Ms. Veneziano, Dr. Baird, and myself to the Board of Finance. The Board of Selectmen were there as well. And I think it went overall very well. There were some good questions that happened. They asked a little bit about our American Rescue Plan funds and what those are allocated for, and those funds are in the state EGMS system, the Educational Grants Management System, the budget the administration put in and was approved by the state, and so, you know, just talking through some of that, and, you know, some other questions around special ed costs. But overall, I think it went really well. So, you know, budget season is by far not over. So I will let the board know of all the Board of Finance meetings coming up, because it's always good to have some presence there, because as they deliberate the budget, you know, questions do come up, so it's good for us to join those if at all possible. So I'll send those out as they come. And like Dr. Baird said, we had the convention. All the kids did amazing. They had some really great ideas. Some I would like in my own home. But I just want to give a shout out to all the kids. It takes so much time to really put together an invention and then, you know, do the research.
Is on YouTube. You can watch it and everything. You can forward it here.
Diana, did you have something? Oh, Diana, I think we can hear you. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I don't have any questions.
Oh, To just do all that research and just like start over again sometimes, and then, and I'll be honest with you, filling out the log. I mean, that log is like something you do in college, like pages, like filling out. It's just a lot of log. So I just really want to give a shout out to all the kids that did that, and also their families that supported them. And that is all I have for the chair's report.
I forgot to
Dr.
add
Baird,
before.
yeah.
Ms. Veneziano was there judging with us, and so it was really great to have you as part of that.
It was so neat to see all the kids.
Yeah.
All right. Did Diana, did you have a question or not have a question?
No, I did not. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Oh, that's okay.
I wasn't, my son walked in from baseball, so.
Okay, I just
No,
want to
no
make sure
question.
I didn't want to miss you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, so next are committee updates. So the policy committee, we haven't met, but I would like to meet within the next month or so. It's, I recognize that we have a lot of budget meetings going on with the Board of Finance, so I am very cognizant of that. But we will be looking at sunsetting some of the COVID policies at this point. And that would just be really just a removal of those or sunsetting of those, and then we would automatically just revert back to our regular policies that are in place. Resource Management Committee, Joe Margaitis.
Yes, so Resource Management Committee met this evening. Besides the line item transfers, we also discussed the clock replacement project for both schools. We decided to wait on the facility study that Dr. Baird has already spoke about to see if it can be included within those projects. So at this point, that's on hold, and that's it.
Thank you. Student Growth and District Advancement, I know hasn't met.
Yeah, I think that I think
He's not here tonight.
yeah, policy makes sense to meet in April, just given the timeline, and Student Growth Committee would make sense to meet probably in May, leading into the June board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Amanda Veneziano, Communications and Community Engagement Committee.
We have not met, and I think we would schedule to meet again based on the budget if we needed to do a new flyer or anything prior to the referendum.
Right, yep, depending on any changes that occur, right? Negotiations Committee, we have our formal, really just organizational meeting starting March 23rd. It's on the agenda, but to be honest, we can't get into too much detail as things progress, but right now with that will be the first date, at least for the first contract negotiations. PTA Liaison, Amanda Veneziano.
The PTA is very excited. They have an in-person event. They're going to a baseball game, and they sold out like 3 times. Like they got tickets, they sold out, and they had to keep asking for more. So it was a great sign that people are wanting to get out and do things. And then they also are doing their first book fair in person since COVID. So that's coming up real soon, and everyone is very excited. And they are looking for parent volunteers on the Facebook pages. There's an HES page and a GHS, and also the PTA page on Facebook. You can sign up there. So they would greatly appreciate, I know I'm gonna volunteer 2 of the days to help, just because I love the book fair. Even though I don't have kids here anymore, I love the book fair. So I'll be there to support them. But they're very excited, and I'm happy for them to be in person again.
We're excited to have people back in our schools.
Yes. All right, school readiness.
I was unable to attend. Dr. Beer, would you mind?
Yep, we didn't have quorum this month, actually. So we did meet, we're developing the school readiness grant right now. So we started talking about that process with those that were in attendance, but no quorum this month, so we didn't have an official meeting.
Okay, thank you. Ally Schmeisel, the Wellness Committee.
No, the next meeting is next month.
Okay. And Shared Service Advisory Group, so I know I really would like to get this started now. Again, I know it's budget season, but I think, one of the things they asked us actually about that on Tuesday night. One of the Board of Finance members asked about, what we were doing for shared services. Of course, we talked about a lot of things that we already have in place, but in addition, I know that Andover, or I've heard that Andover might be looking to add sign language this year. I know that's a proposed possible addition for next year, and that would be something the board would discuss, and obviously have some impact on the budget, but that might, just an area, just throwing that out there, that might potentially be something we could share. I don't know how, depending on the FT of that position. So those kind of things, I would like to schedule a meeting within the next month or so. You know, I know it's budget season for Ram, Marlboro, Andover, all of us, so I don't know if that's feasible, but I can put it out there and see what happens. And that is all I have for committees. Old business, there is none. Would anyone like to see any new business on next one's agenda? Joe Margaitis.
I think we should discuss the pre-K expansion program again. I think we're at that point. I think if we look at the numbers prior to 2020, we've had this consistent flow, and it seems like we're back to where we were before. So there's families that are going to be coming in, and you know, as families move into town, it would be nice to have more options here within the school.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, so we'll put that on. Is there any other new business anyone would like to see on next month's agenda? Diana?
No, but I'm in agreement with Joe about the pre-K program. I would be very interested in that also.
Okay, excellent. So we'll put that on next month's agenda. We already have the presentation from last time, so we can just pull that right up. All right, and finally, board member comments. Amanda,
I do have one thing. I know we talked about invention convention several times tonight, but I just think it goes to show what a great program we have, not only with our teachers, but our STEAM program. I mean, I was judging with the second grade, and I mean, second grade, little guys, the whole thought process behind what they had done and what they would continue. One student had shared what he would do after the fact, like if he could change it or he'd do it again. And every single student we talked to, Mr. Holmes said, would you do this again? And all of them have ideas for next year, do want to do. But just like it wasn't just they created something, there was a process. But it just goes to show, like, obviously, you know, parents at home are helping them, so they have a great team at home and support. But the teachers here and everything that our STEAM teachers do with the students, it clearly shows. And both reps we had from the state invention convention, they were impressed with our students. And, you know, they just kept raving about the school and the staff and how great Hebron is. So it was just really like, we know that, but it was great to hear from someone on the outside. And then, you know, just again to be in person and see the kids, just their excitement and to show off their projects. And they all did such a great job. So it was just an honor to be able to be a judge, but just to see the hard work that our school does, see it in person, it was just really exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Any other board member comments? All right.
That's good.
With that, I will adjourn our meeting at 7:57 p.m. Wow. Thank you all very much.